I'm at the halfway point of our 3-week road trip around a small part of the United States. So far, we've explored a snippet of the Rocky Mountain National Park, albeit bleary-eyed in our jet-lagged state. We've been wowed by the mountains and the abundance of wildlife that we discovered in the Grand Tetons. In Yellowstone, the world's first ever national park, we dabbled in a little of the park's history, took full advantage of its natural swim areas, became mesmerised by the geyser activity, and for us, it was the north of the park which stole our hearts with its thrilling wildlife drives where we were able to spot bison, coyotes, elk, pronghorn, and the one that got everyone excited, bears. Yesterday, we made the long drive south, leaving the crowds of Yellowstone behind, as Utah's least visited national park, Capitol Reef, is next on our itinerary.
Good morning and welcome to Capitol Reef National Park. It's a little bit overcast, it's a little bit grey and it's a little bit cloudy this morning, but to be honest, we're here in the desert in August and I'm actually quite grateful that we don't have the beating sun on us at the moment. We have driven down to the Cassidy Arch trailhead, and unlike all of the arches in Arches National Park, which we're actually going to be going to on our next stop because it's about a 2.5 hour drive east of here, Arches National Park, you're not actually allowed to go and walk on top of any of the arches, but here in Capitol Reef, this Cassidy Arch that we're going to go and hike to does allow you to go on top of the arch, so we're quite excited about that. So we're just going to get some bug spray on because we've been told that the midges and mosquitoes have been quite bad this summer, and then we're going to go and get started. Managed to make it up to the top of the Cassidy Arch trail. It was a beautiful trail coming up, so completely different to anything else that we've done so far on this trip. It was only 1.7 miles to get up here. The elevation gain was about 600 or so feet. The National Park had put it down as being strenuous. I personally would have said that it was more moderate. There was one point really close to the top here where there was a bit of sort of slick rock that I really had to rely on my hiking shoes and the grip on the bottom of it to allow me to get up, but I would say other than that one tiny bit of slick rock, the rest of it was really easy. The trails are really well maintained. There was a couple of points again once we got up onto the rock where I got a little bit lost, hadn't spotted the cairns, so I just had to go back on myself just a few steps. But it's absolutely stunning. Up here there was one other guy behind us on the trail just hiking solo, and we'd seen him coming up the riverbed as we were going down to get to the trailhead. I kind of feel like it was a little bit of a blessing in disguise that he was behind us, because we did say to him, oh, would you mind taking a photograph of the both of us, and then we were able to do the same for him. But other than that, we have not seen anyone else at all on this trail. I would imagine at the moment there's probably more people coming and pulling up as the morning's getting on, but we were here after 8 o'clock, maybe about 8:15, and I think in comparison to some of the other national parks that we've visited, for example, if this was in Yellowstone, I just think this would be absolutely crowded by this hour in the morning. We've only seen a tiny little bit of Capitol Reef National Park, but on first impressions we are absolutely blown away by it, and we love the fact that there's hardly any people here and we almost just have the place to ourselves and we can just sort of mess around, not have to worry about taking up time on a prime photo spot, or really have to worry about doing this vlog entry and be like, oh, but there's people on the arch behind us. I mean, this entire time you can see no one's gone out onto it. So yeah, really good first impressions, and we'll probably hike back down in a few minutes and we'll go and explore some other parts of the park. quite eager just to get on with the trail before any crowds potentially went up there. And as we've come back down, we have seen quite a few more families and couples hiking up. But after we've got back to the parking lot, we've done a little bit of reading up on why it's called Cassidy Arch, and it turns out that Butch Cassidy, who was something of an outlaw, rumour has it that he actually hid out in this area, and so they decided to call that arch Cassidy Arch after Butch Cassidy. We are now starting our second hike of the day, and this one is the Cohab Canyon Trail. I think it's about 1.7 miles, quite steep at the beginning, up lots and lots of switchbacks to get us into the canyon, and then I believe it flattens out after that. And then at the end of the canyon there's then another trailhead. I think it's to something called Hickman Bridge, which is much shorter. The plan is we'll just go on to that before then coming back on ourselves to get back to Fruita, which is where we've left the car, and then we'll have some lunch here in Fruita. Now started on the Hickman Bridge trail. Just behind me you can see what is Capitol Dome, and that is where half of the national park's name, Capitol Reef, comes from. The other part, reef, derives from a locally used term that comes from nautical sayings of reef meaning big steep ridges that basically block transportation, and I think it's probably very fitting. This area is quite stopping of transportation, and then we've also got the Capitol Dome just behind us, so Capitol Reef all makes sense. We've made it to Hickman Bridge, although something tells me that when we actually get to the bridge and we're underneath it, the view isn't going to be quite as good as this one here. Just come along to Gooseneck Point. It's maybe 2-3 minutes walk from the parking lot, so it's not really much of a hiking trail. It's incredibly windy, but it is really stunning just getting to see the river completely meander around us as it's cut down through the rock. We've now come to Sunset Point, which is about 1/3 of a mile from the parking lot, but it's right next to the trail out to the goosenecks overview. We have come to the point of just deciding I don't think the clouds are going to shift whilst we're here, so we just thought, you know what, let's just come check out Sunset Point. Even though the sun is not setting, we're not going to get to see a sunset, but it's really stunning still. I would say that if you are here whilst the skies are blue and there is going to be a beautiful sunset, it's not an effort at all to get from the parking lot round here. Barely any elevation gain, and it's absolutely stunning, and I'm just trying to picture what it would be like if the sun was setting right now.
We're spending almost a week in Utah and today have only scratched the surface. Tomorrow we'll spend the morning exploring a few parts of Capitol Reef that we didn't get to tick off our list, before heading across to Moab, where we'll spend a few days discovering both Canyonlands and Arches National Parks, as well as some spots local to Moab itself. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can join me on my adventures.